Hello and welcome to the newest edition of Insights. The pandemic has definitely disrupted our lives, has disrupted businesses, and most importantly, disrupted the consumer path to purchase. Many things which we could not dream of, especially in India, are today a reality. Let me give two examples. One, children attending school online through video classes, where more than the children, the teachers had to reinvent themselves to ensure that lesser number of people fell asleep during the class. Second, most of the doctors, especially who are not practicing in the corporate hospitals, are used to writing the prescription with a pen. They have suddenly started typing in their prescription into the computer. Most of these consultants, especially the renowned ones, can never be consulted over a video call. Today, several of them are actually getting more out of their available time by combining physical patient visit versus remote patient visit. Therefore, at Ideas Consulting Group, we felt that the time has come for every organization to re-examine their IT alignment with the changed business requirements. We are fortunate, and I am proud to introduce the latest expert in our consortium at Ideas Consulting Group, who comes in with impeccable credentials as an academic, has studied computer science in Jadavpur University, has done his MBA from IIM Calcutta, where he was the gold medalist, and he has done his PhD from none other than MIT Sloan. Arnab Basu, Dr. Arnab Basu to be precise, is with me today, and he brings in a lot of experience of consulting in business and IT across the globe in organizations like McKinsey. Arnab, welcome to Ideas Consulting Group. Let me begin where I left off just now. IT is something which a common person like me get nervous about and think it's too technical, too complex for us to understand. Is it the truth or is it a myth?
So let me start with an interesting observation. So when we talk about a brand, if you see any brand, you pick up any brand, Airtel, Vodafone. So does that brand sounds AIRTEL? Is that a brand? Or the people who are actually working in that premise representing that organization is the brand? So if that person who is representing that organization is the brand, then similarly, the computers, the network systems, all those jargons that we talk about in the purview of IT is actually not IT. IT is about how anybody in an organization can be enabled to actually deliver whatever that person, that organization, their customers, their entire stakeholder and the entire system wants to achieve, and how that can be done in a minimalistic, in an optimized way, and that's what IT is all about. So IT can never be something which is daunting. At the same time, it is not that easy, because if that would have been that easy, then everybody would have started doing it. So there is an opportunity where people should look at IT as their enablement, at the same time should require expert advice where they think that they are unable to go or take a decision, where they feel that this organization or perhaps as an individual, if I want to choose between certain systems or I have to actually embrace the new shift. Change is an essential form of existence. Now what happens is, in 2019, the entire IT was working to prepare the entire business value chain in a volatile, uncertain, complex and ambiguous world, which we call it as and termed as VUCA world. But now see, just after that, in 2020, something like COVID-19 emerged, and we felt that perhaps that would be the end of business. But what saved us was this technology back home that India had. And if you see many other parts of the world where people were actually trying to communicate, it was done through a volatile scenario, and it was done through the people who had actually envisaged that this sort of a remote working system can actually work, and they had taken steps much beyond this COVID-19, and that has taken it to a different level.
What is the most important lesson that I draw from this brief remark about you is that organizations and their IT systems were configured to the pre-COVID world. Now we are living in the post-COVID world. Correct. What has happened also is many organizations actually adapted quickly to the COVID by using IT and perhaps only IT to take it forward.
Correct.
Arnab, in your vast experience as a consultant, where do you find business owners go wrong in terms of their IT strategy?
It's a very pertinent question, and if we look at the entire business realm, be it an established organization or be it the startup, what happens is you will see a lot of established organizations have not been able to take their IT strategy to a level where they would be having what they envisage. At the same time, they would be able to compete with the innovations that the startups are doing. So why is that? It's because in general, in established organizations, to handle technology, there has to be a complete hierarchical decisions that needs to be taken, which does not come in the purview of the entire chain in that organization. While in startups, since the work environment is flexible, you can actually jump into a lot of systems which perhaps is not working. Even doing that, you have to just shift to a different system. You can take a faster decision, which the established organizations unfortunately could not do.
In fact, when you speak, a lot of my thoughts resonate with what you are speaking. In Ideas, over this 19 years, we have sort of affiliated with more than 190 client organizations, and majority of them have been family-run businesses. My observation is actually IT did not grow in a planned manner. The business grew, and with the growth of the business, IT was taken as some to manage the business. In fact, there are organizations who deliberately do not have IT because then they don't want their business to be too transparently managed.
Correct.
And therefore, what has happened is people may have, I think, the most rudimentary way of IT that I have seen is Tally, which is the accounting software. So from Tally to Tally ERP. But the problem, I think, which is paramount, and I don't think it is, it will be eliminated unless we work towards it consciously. IT actually, as you mentioned, is an enabler and is entirely dependent on people, processes and policies which the organization has in order to leverage the power of IT, first of all for the present operations, and which is absolutely lacking is futuristic proactive preparation for IT. Would you agree with me?
Completely agreed. This is exactly where, if you see, a lot of organizations would jump onto every new technology that comes their way and try to figure out how they can actually adapt to those systems rather than thinking the other way around whether that makes sense to my business. Now, if I am doing a particular domain which requires those sort of new technologies, then I should definitely evaluate it and definitely try to get the best possible out of the ID system, which has latest trends and which is doing a lot of rounds in the market. But if that does not make sense to my current business realm or my strategic vision altogether, if I am doing it, then I am doing it with a ad hoc mindset. And if I am doing it with an ad hoc mindset, that is a recipe for disaster for the organizations. And in most cases, what happens is, if you see business and IT, majority of the cases, business has a larger strategic vision. They want a lot of agility in the system. At the same time, perhaps the business do not understand how the technology roadmap can go. Now, when this business and IT do not talk to each other and they take their own strategic visions individually or in a silo, what happens is the business will perhaps expect certain things to be done, while the technology people might feel that in this imperative there should be a lot of timelines which has been missed by the business, while the business feels that why a technology should be something which even after I have spelled it out, that should be there in my organization. And that's where the IT and business does not align, and that becomes the process where the organizations come down, and finally they have to understand where this alignment can happen, and that's where a lot of work needs to be done.
In fact, you have hit the nail on the head. We have seen this type of conflict between business and IT departments in many organizations with whom we consult. On top of this, I have found another new phenomenon, a challenge, is that many organizations, as the complexities of their business goes up, they feel that SAP is a great tool to sort of organize their business in a more effective manner. However, I think what people do not realize that SAP is only a tool, and what goes in, SAP only processes and something else comes out. So unless the processes, policies, workflow of the organization is aligned to SAP or SAP customized to this, the output often becomes a challenge. Have you experienced this in your journey?
Many a times. So this I can actually give a very metaphorical answer to this also. What happens is people do not actually ask the right questions at the right time. And when you do not ask the right questions at the right time, there is always a general tendency to put your focus on certain activities which does not bring you to the current realm of actually what needs to be done. So now, if you're talking about SAP, I will go beyond that. SAP moving into the cloud computing, moving towards using data and analytics. An analytics framework, whether it should be predictive or prescriptive. In entire chain of the latest technologies that are coming in, and even today visualization using augmented reality and all those stuff, technology is creating a lot of opportunities. But at the same time, again, I have to define whether I am actually prepared to have a system which is an organized system like an SAP, or while I am using an analytic framework, do I have the visualization capabilities? If I have the data sitting in a silo and I expect that that siloed data will be visualized immediately I have brought in a new software into my system, that will not happen. And that's where perhaps the work needs to be done a lot synchronized and a lot organized.
Arnold, given your experience, academic qualifications, any organization would love to hire you as or take your services as a CTO. While that may be the desire of many organizations, somebody with your type of profile may not be excited to be a part of as a CTO in a business whose primary interest is not IT. If we were to if somebody were to avail your services along with the team that we have at Ideas Consulting Group as a CTO, would you like to spell out the top 5 benefits that the organization will have, that we will bring to the table as an organization, as a team, which is bound to give the organization impetus, return on investment, and competitiveness enhancement in the field that they work?
Correct. So what happens is, if you are hiring a CTO in an organization, you have to define what role that CTO is going to play. Now, if I am not very sure about my entire technology gambit, how am I going to spell out what that CTO needs to bring? Now, if I expect that yes, I am actually looking at somebody who has this experience and I am just hiring that CTO to guide me on that, then that's a wrong way of looking at things. What could be, there are always wrong and right ways to look at the same thing. So how do we look at that? So if we look at hiring that needs to be done from just an employee perspective of a CTO, then my policies, my procedures, whatever process that needs to be, that has to be at least spelled out to a certain level, which the CTO can take it forward and create a team to execute. Now, before that, what you need is to understand what are my long-term and short-term goals. Now, this strategic vision, what happens is in many organizations, you will see that there are vision, mission, and all those stuff written. But do you really imbibe that in your system? That's very important. Now, to imbibe that, what do you need? You need, number one, to understand what sort of people and culture I am trying to imbibe. And through that people and culture, what sort of processes am I defining so that have a seamless experience not only for the internal employees but also to the external environment, the clients, as well as the other stakeholders within which environment I am working. Now, all this together, if that proposition comes, if I ask any business owner to define what exactly is your business model, can you give me a strategic positioning where you want this technology to be playing a bigger role or maybe an enabler role? So there can be different ways to look at it. First is we can look at IT as just supporting my business. Second is I can look at it just doing something more than what I am doing right now. Or I can also look at it whether my IT realm creates an opportunity for me towards getting newer growth, newer innovations, and at the same time create a unique opportunity and a unique selling proposition for mine, which can actually create an opportunity for me to stay ahead of the curve. Now, if I am looking at that scenario where an organization is actually trying to become prepared towards new growth model, towards doing innovations and making the competition irrelevant, and specifically when you see a McKinsey report says that in a post-COVID world, if you really want to sustain the power of technology, collaboration has to be a major role. Then here lies the role that we can play at Ideas Consulting Group as a service where we can actually define what exactly is your strategic vision and how IT can play a major role. And there we can define the process, we can move it to the level where a CTO at a later stage can come in after this intervention and take it forward to newer horizons.
In fact, as Arnab was speaking, I was thinking that today an organization can actually use its IT capabilities to create a differentiation in their marketing. Many organizations, I can quote an organization with whom we consult, who are into real estate marketing, and they used technology to ensure that the customer felt as if the site visit, which is mandatory for buying a flat, is available as it would be if were there present. You see, now there was a dilemma there. People can't move out of their home. And because of COVID and everybody working from home, suddenly the need for ready-made accommodation went up. And how do you marry both of them was technology. Where through this virtual reality, augmented reality, a simple video call from the flat to the person who's likely to buy, a video tour, became the decision-making enabler for marketing the flats. So what important point, one dimension that we can bring in as a consulting team is that we are not IT. We are actually business, and IT is a subset of our business consulting service. we find that a lot of inefficiencies are hidden in the processes in the IT which the organization currently deploys. And we have found that organizations today are grappling with one answer, that what do? I am at the crossroad. Should I modify? Should I top up? Should I replace?
And to top on that, what happens is when you are always looking at it as a top up or a modification status, that is again working like a patchwork, never a holistic approach. And that's where IT in many organizations does not align with the business goals, and that's where we should be.
Excellent. It's like repairing a road when only for that particular hole which has been created, and within some time that goes away. And it also brings down the efficiency of IT system. Unfortunately, our experience suggests that there is a lot of work which is done around employee satisfaction survey. Hardly any work done in terms of employees user happiness survey, where each and every item and function is somehow connected one way or the other using IT. However, organizations are just not listening to their employees in order to serve their customers better. Ultimately, that is the goal that we need to figure out. Imagine a hospital where at the registration desk, the process of registration takes 4 minutes versus 2 minutes. That itself is 100% efficiency, effectiveness improvement in terms of dealing with number of patients. It's not about dealing 2 patients more, it is about that time that elapses between 4 minutes and 2 minutes is not about 2 minutes, because in hospital people are stressed, people are anxious, and time doesn't seem to move. Those 2 minutes look like 2 hours. We'll continue this conversation with Arnab Basu. Please stay tuned for the next episode of this session on Insights.
Thank you so much.
Welcome to the second episode of Insights with Arnab Basu. We are in conversation about IT, its relevance to business, and the importance of alignment of IT with business strategy and business goals. Arnab, today one of the buzzwords that everybody speaks about is digital transformation. And I am sure that each one of us have our own interpretation of this two words, digital transformation. I request you to simplify it for the common understanding of the viewers who are watching this video. What do we mean by digital transformation?
It's very interesting. So now here there are 2 words. One is digital, the other is transformation. Now, digital is something that is there from quite some time now. What is happening is, are we shifting gears towards adopting to new ways the digital is working right now? So why I am saying this is very important. If you see, when we had started using a website way back around 2000, 2001, at that point in time itself we have become digital. It's a global presence. It gives us an opportunity to interact with the
entire world. In fact, I was step back. When we started using credit cards, we have gone digital.
Correct. So digital was always there. Why the transformation is? Even though the organizations were doing certain things digitally, they didn't know how to harness the entire capability of the digital processes to their entire system, which would actually give them much better visibility, at the same time curtail costs and move towards profitability and revenue growth. That's where digital transformation slowly started making inroads into the corporates, and major organizations started looking at it. Now, why did they start looking at it as an overall and holistic exercise? That's where the transformation started playing a major role. They first noticed that yes, I have a lot of digital systems in my entire gambit of services, but those are not talking to each other. And the interesting part is, these systems do not talk even to my people.
These systems do not talk to my processes. But the processes are defined, my people are equally efficient, I have the robust system, but these three are working in different silos. How can we connect them in a singular way so that my internal customers, where my internal customers are not only my customers per se, but my internal organizational employees, while my external communication, the way the brand is perceived in the entire VM, is where digital transformation started making inroads. And today, if you see, digital transformation not only talks about the IT as the only enabler of this transformation. It has culture, it has process, it has people, all those ingrained into the entire activity, which is now given a formalized quote-unquote term of digital transformation.
In fact, you touch upon a very important point. To me, the transformation is first in the mind before anywhere else.
Absolutely.
Technology is only a tool to achieve that transformation. Let me give an example, and this is a very pertinent example because it's of the government of India. Those of us who have been flying for years would remember that boarding pass, baggage tag, everything getting stamped at various parts of the security process.
And not only that, I have actually seen people for not carrying that physical boarding pass denied entry to the airport, and they were missing that important meetings and all those stuff, which was disaster for that particular person.
True. And today, if you walk into more advanced airports in our country, there is a separate queue if you have only a cabin baggage, and the entire transition of the passenger from entering the gate of the airport to the aircraft is digitally monitored and digitally facilitated. This would have never happened unless the government had made that important transition in the government's mind that this is in no way compromising our security protocol. COVID has helped in many people get over that fear of paying using credit card on the website. It is not that people were not aware of it. They were forced, and that is how this started. And I would like to congratulate the government of India in terms of the way they have created the backbone of digital payment through the UPI gateway.
Absolutely. Not only the UPI. If you see how during a crisis period, the digital transformation, the CoWIN app that was developed within a short notice, and that has actually helped many other countries to actually adopt. Even the United States of America, the hub of technology, were not able to provide a digital certificate to its citizens when they were vaccinated. It's a big achievement from the government of Indian perspective, as well as it opens up a lot of opportunities for organizations where they can actually shift to this bandwagon of digital transformation and create a lot of difference and create a lot of value and thereby improve their bottom line.
Arnold, now let me ask a question which could be very relevant to the viewers who are watching this video. What will we do if any organization approaches Ideas Consulting Group to help them in digital transformation? Just the broad steps that we will take to enable them to make this transformation.
First and foremost, as you rightly said, the mindset to change. That is very important. And how do we gauge that? So we first, as a group, whenever any client approaches us, that this is what we need to shift. Our first thing would be to assess the stakeholder engagement, the internal environment, and how they want to achieve this. What is in their mind, and do they really have that mindset to shift towards this digital field? Now, if that is assessed and we know how they are trying to go ahead, and there is an opportunity for us, what we can do is then to shift from that hard cart that yes, I now need to shift towards a digital movement. Then we can start actually co-creating it by creating internal and external collaborators from our team as well as their team, so that we have an aligned vision, and then we create a score line where we find that these are the steps needed in the short-term perspective, which needs immediate prioritization. And at the long term, this is the entire gambit that these people can do to achieve their long-term strategic vision that we have assessed during our assessment period. This is how we can approach.
So what Arnab is trying to say essentially is we are looking at the transformation in a holistic manner, somewhat like a popular course which has been there for a long time, finance for non-finance managers, is undertaken in many organizations to create the awareness and sensitivity to the finance function. A digital awareness for people who don't use technology, rarely use technology, who are not so aligned to technology is the first step. We need to re-examine all the processes, keeping that singular entity in mind, and that is the customer. Because without the customer, there is no business. And what options does the customer have to digitally interact, transact, and communicate with the brand? What is available from competition and what do we offer? Here, one of the techniques that we use is what we call surrogate benchmarking. What it essentially means is that we learn from the best practices from another industry which is similar in terms of business dynamics as the industry that this company operates, and take the best practices and create and curate the policies which are going to help this organization. Our biggest take on digital transformation is it's worth the investment for the simple reason is if you get the act right, there are always recurring cost savings which can be a great addition to the bottom line. The simplest example is boarding passes being printed by passengers and being carried. Now even boarding passes don't have to be printed. The mobile phone itself is good enough. Imagine the number of trees that the world is saving just because of this phenomenon. Forget the bottom line impact that the airlines have by adopting this digital practice. More of this in the next episode. Thank you for watching us. Welcome to Insights with Arnab Basu. Innovation, I think, would perhaps be one of the most often used words in any business, in any organization. However, my experience suggests that innovation is more of a lip service than a practice. People think that innovation will happen suddenly. I believe that innovation is a planned process, and that is the outcome of the process. Today I want to discuss with Arnab how IT could be a tool for business re-engineering and innovation.
Interesting point, actually, Deepamda. See, what happens is today each and every organization in this entire sphere, if you say, is talking about innovation. That we need to innovate, we need to be agile, and all those stuff. Now, majority of them, if you actually drill it down to what do you exactly mean by innovation, will not be able to spell it out. It's because there is a very thin line between what is an invention and what is an innovation. When you take your invention to a commercialization aspect to it, does that mean innovation? Or there are certain existing things which are being used as silos, and then we join them together and create something out of it which actually creates more value for my end users or customers. Is that an innovation? And that is where a lot of discussion, a lot of work is happening right now. Now, why I'm saying this is, if you see the biggest example that I can give about innovation, and we all know that one of the most innovative companies today is Apple, right? Now, we all say that, but have we ever actually stepped back
and realized where exactly did Apple create that innovation as a drive, as a process. That is a very interesting observation that we made when we noticed that the MP3 players were already existing in the market. There were a lot of software services, including the music streaming services, that were also available at that point in time. But what was not available is connecting the two and providing them in a particular platform which the end user can seamlessly go from that music to the device and also download the software and see what is happening in the streaming field. That's what we nowadays call as business model innovation. The things were already there. So we are not talking about a particular product innovation because the product was already existing at that point in time. The service was also existing. But no one thought that this could be integrated, and that's where the brilliance of Steve Jobs is, that he created that as a business model where he actually enhanced the power of these siloed things into a proper service which the end users can take it, and as a result the organization went from one particular level to a certain level which many other competitors could not even touch them. That's the power of innovation, and that's where business model innovation plays a very crucial role nowadays.
In fact, as you were speaking, Arnav, I can think of examples like Uber or Oyo Hotels,
Absolutely.
where it is the technology which enabled the innovation to take place, and people could book and use properties which were not being used so often, and cars which became like a personal driven chauffeur instead of a taxi. The key point that I want to harp upon in this section is that innovation is not about something which is fancy. It is not about something which does not exist. It to me is more connecting the dots in a manner that the sum of the entire thing is more than the whole. And that is where many businesses are looking at innovation as a method of business growth and profitability. I remember a cement major who realized that the best way to transport cement from their factory in Gujarat to the biggest market in Mumbai is the sea rather than the road. And this innovation took place many decades ago. So innovation is the thought. Technology helps in innovation today because it connects seamlessly the possibility with the end user.
And I will add to that, so in one of our assignments with a large institution in healthcare, what we found was interesting. So healthcare as a whole, in any hospitals, in any healthcare system, you would definitely and preferably want to see that how you are treating your patients, how you are dealing with the inpatients, the outpatients, the billing, and all those stuff comes from the technological ambit. But when we started working with that, what had happened with that institution was that they had put a proper place, all the information technology systems is perfectly done, the processes are well defined, and what has happened is, yet they are at a stagnant phase. Because whatever their marketing efforts are, whatever their efforts are to bringing those people into their world-class infrastructure has gone into a stagnant phase. They are continuously losing money, they are unable to grow, and they do not have a vision that having such brilliant systems in place, why can't they grow? And they came to us, and then when we started going and probing and digging deeper into that system, we started realizing that what they had done is, they had created the best of the systems, but they had forgotten one thing, that is their core. That is creating a world-class service, having those world-class infrastructure and technology in place. How can I integrate my service into it, and so that I can extract more from those particular people who are coming in, so that they create more referrals for us. And that's where what they did was, through the technology itself, they were actually capturing a lot of data. And those data actually showed that the inpatients in their feedback has actually mentioned that here they not only get world-class facilities, that's a given because this is the entire system, that's why we are here. But what we need is, we need good quality food that is also served with us. That's where the hospital was missing out on a lot of non-customers who could have been transferred to them as their customers. And that's where the power of innovation lies, to actually look at those things which are the pain points. It is not only just deep diving, also innovating certain things which is non-core to me, but at the same time can be integrated to my core and create new growth models. That's the power of innovation.
In fact, innovation is, to conclude, a continuous effort to improve in whatever we are doing and offering as a business. The more we can do it in a dynamic manner, in a proactive manner, the better it will be for the business, for the customer, and all that actually leads to a superior bottom line. Talk to us if you want to innovate. We will be able to help you and innovate. Does cost of doing your business bother you? Do you ever worry how to improve your profits? Do you strategize to pursue profitable growth in business? If the answer to all these three, or at least one of these three questions is yes, then you must listen to this session on Insights with Arnob for the next few minutes, where we are going to discuss how IT, aligned IT, let me emphasize on the word aligned, IT actually benefits organizations to optimize costs and drive profitability. In costing, I look at costing where something which is apparent cost, or rather obvious cost. For example, if I look at this cup, the cost of this cup is an obvious cost. There is coffee inside. Now every bottle of a coffee bottle should give X number of coffee cups of this size. Do we ever calculate that? Is the person who's making the coffee using more coffee powder than is desired, and therefore underutilizing the potential of a bottle of coffee? These are all what are called hidden or apparent costs. What IT does and how does it enable organizations to optimize costs is what I want to ask Arnob based on his vast experience.
Important thing is, how do we look at cost? Now sometimes what happens is, in the purview of IT, do you only look at the obvious costs or the runtime business costs as your only costs? Or you want to look at your entire organization bottom line effect that is being done if you do not actually choose your technology wisely and act on it. So what happens is, I can give you many examples in our consulting career where we have seen a lot of organizations even not calculating the cost of peripherals that would be required to be used in their own IT hardware department that they are procuring. So they are procuring a lot of hardware, but they have not even calculated the cost of the peripherals. And that needed a third party view to actually tell those organizations that why haven't you seen that? And then the question comes is, the business has already handed it over to the IT. Is the IT's requirement? The IT department should have told us that these are the things that also needs to be added and we should have then taken into consideration. Now, this is the biggest challenge that we see from the cost perspective, that the business has a particular vision, the business has said that we require all these things, and in enthusiasm of actually inculcating a lot of technology in our organization, The technology department starts thinking it only from the technology perspective and do not even consider that yes, there are other costs. Can those costs be optimized at least so that whatever new technology we are bringing into the organization, if those costs are optimized, then it also translates into a better business profitability. That's where a business and IT alignment plays a crucial role. And I think we miss out on a lot of things if we do not look at the hidden costs, as Deepakta was saying, that those imperative but hidden, those costs pinch you a lot at the end if that is not done in a holistical way, if you are completely missing out on the big picture at that point in time.
I'll just add to what Arnab said, that look at a function like HR, and you have employees who are paid a certain amount of salary at the end of every month. Are you sure that you are getting as much as that the employee can contribute to the organizational performance as per his or her present caliber, his or her present ability, experience, and the time that the person spends at work? I don't think too many organizations are looking at this area of cost. This is where IT, if deployed intelligently, if deployed effectively, can actually give you a real-time picture of your human resource deployment and utilization, which is perhaps one of the biggest costs that any industry incurs, especially if you are a non-manufacturing industry.
Yeah, just I will add another example from the HR field itself. You will see a lot of organizations have their HR information system in place. So they are actually adapted towards the technology, and they have their leave encashment and the reimbursement payments for their employees done through this technology. Now, interestingly, what happens is certain modules that they have defined from the business is that they will first see there has to be a proper channeled application by the employees regarding the reimbursements, proper submission of bills and all those stuff. These are the processes that are defined by the business. Now what happened is, when this has been translated to the information system, they have taken it just literally, but they have missed out on certain unforeseen scenarios. And that's where technology can play a big role if you look at the user scenarios. And you might have seen at that point in time that perhaps on February 29th, on a particular year, which is a leap year, that particular person has not been able to do that since the system takes only 31st as the date. His application on 29th was rejected because that was the end of the month. These are small things that we miss out, and that entails a lot of cost because you have to do a workaround since you have just taken the business scenario as literally rather than translating intelligent way into the system. So that's where you incur the cost, and that's where technology can play both the positive role as well as a negative role. How do you use it? How do you actually make use of technology plays a big role here.
Just to conclude this session on insights where IT is about business, we would like to conclude that if you are investing in the correct technology, then the return on investment comes not only from increased top line, the bigger return on investment comes in enhanced bottom line.
Absolutely.
And this is what you must remember is the merit of investing in technology appropriately. The word is appropriately, else it could work at counter purposes. Good luck to all of you. If you want to talk to us about any of these, please connect us through our website.
Thank you.
Welcome to Conversations. At Ideas Consulting Group, we believe that people are the biggest asset that anybody can have in any sphere of life. For a school, the teachers and the students who attend the school are the biggest assets. For an organization, the employees are the biggest asset. For a family, the children growing up in the families are the biggest asset. As a parent, have you ever felt guilty that you are not performing your role as a parent as well as you would like to? Do you feel that as a parent it becomes more difficult as the child grows from primary school to middle school to high school and then higher secondary school and early days of college? Do you believe that parenting is a combined effort of the father and mother, and at times the parents are not in sync, so how would they guide their children? If all these questions are cropping up in your mind as you listen to me, then you must stay on to listen to Arnab Basu. Arnab is a part of our team at Ideas. However, what we are going to discuss now is something which is Arnab's proprietary tool called Yancha, a tool which helps us feel less guilty in our role as parents, and as Mackenzie suggests, that if you are relaxed in terms of your mind space as a parent, your productivity at work goes up. Would you like to do that? Then listen to Arnab, his journey from the origin about Yancha. Arnab.
Yeah, thank you so much, Deepakda, for initiating this sort of a conversation. In general, you will not see this happening within an organization too often. What happens is we keep on nurturing our people, we give them a lot of training, coaching, mentoring in the typically learning front, but we tend to forget that that prime period of their career development, these people are also at their prime time in their parenting journey as well. And what happens is, as a corporate, if we are actually not nurturing and seeing that our employees, who would you like as an employee? The person who is actually feeling a lot of jittery due to certain things not being in proper place at home, or somebody who is handling his parental responsibilities at ease and normalcy and bring in a lot of positivity and productivity at workplace. So these are the few questions that led us to a very interesting journey. So we were doing a lot of pipeline development for the leadership roles in many organizations. And what we found was interesting. So the organizations were trying to fill up their already existing CXO levels who are going to retire in the next 4-5 years, and they're trying to fill up with the next level of people. And those people, some of them came up and said, though the organization failed, that yes, they are our future leaders, they said, no, I'm not ready. In general, if you look at that, people would take it on the face and would suggest that perhaps these people are in lack of confidence. These people perhaps will not be able to take decisions, and that's why they're fumbling. Though the organization is feeling they're apt for this role, they are not well prepared, that's why they are saying this. But interesting insight came in when we started doing a bit insight deep into those stuff. And then what happened was, a lot of people started saying certain experiences that they had during their childhood days, that they have gone through their parenting lessons that they have got, the experiences they have got from their parenting journey has led to certain sort of trauma or maybe some sort of lack of confidence in them. Yet at this level, where the organization is still feeling that they could go into the next level, and they feel, no, I cannot. And then it boiled down after a thorough research with many organizations, and this led us to do a lot of research with different parents as well, to see some parents who were successful in the parenting journey, some people who failed, that we have not been able to do justice to our parenting journey. We went even to the old age homes to understand how the parents failed, small nitty-gritties that has happened. We went through a lot of inside research that has happened in the primary sector as well, in the parenting journey.
and those revealed a lot of things. That there were interesting insight. Parenting is happening throughout the lifetime. But what has happened is the choice of technology, the nuclear families, and all those stuff are throwing a lot of challenges in this sector. And where are we right now? We do not know. We are always believing that whatever inputs that we have got from our parents, what we see our peers or friends are doing or our colleagues are doing, we are trying to put that into our child. While the child has moved into a different era. As rightly there is a quote by Gurudev Rabindranath Tagore where he said that please do not limit the child to your time because they are born in another time. And that's where we found that the structured inputs into the parenting journey were not there. What was there? There were small bits and pieces, short-term approaches where perhaps if the child is doing a lot of tantrums, we could give them inputs so that those tantrums does not happen. But does that lead to a long-term development in the child? No. So what happened was those were the things that we are doing from the what and when and why perspective. We thought, can we utilize those inputs in a structured way so that somebody can apply as a parent those things which can raise a confident, resilient child? Because our job as parents is not to prepare the path for their children. But as parents, we should actually prepare them for any path they are going to inevitably want. And that's where Yansha was born. And I'm really happy to see it is taking a lot of shape. And that's why we are having this discussion today.
Arnab, just 2-3 questions which crop my mind. One of the phenomena which we have noticed, especially, is that the parent wanted to achieve something in life, for whatever reason could not do so, and therefore wants to live that dream through the child. Does Yangcha take care of this type of a phenomenon?
Definitely so, and in fact, we had been able to actually go through such a situation, and in that, we found that a particular parent who wanted to become a cricketer in his life and could not do so because he was forced to join his family business, tried to force feed his aspirations of becoming a cricketer into his son, whose inherent interest and capability was not in cricket but in drawing. And even if the parents were noticing that his wall, his notebooks were scribbled with brilliant art pieces, they still tend to ignore that because their focus was continuously on the fact that he has to become a cricketer. And one day there was a tipping point. Even though he performed well, he came back and he broke the bat and said, cricket, 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 I do not want to be a cricketer. And at that point in time, so much of tantrums went on the family with a lot of conflict, and finally realization that yes, perhaps we are forcing them into something which is not their capability. So it's like we always say in the HR gambit that do you really want a fish to climb a tree and measure their success through that? We should not do that. And that's where we looked at it from a holistic perspective and understood that yes, the parent has certain aspirations, but perhaps that aspiration does not match with the interest and the capability of the child. And if we are forcing them, we are losing out on the opportunities that this child can have at a later stage when even the parents are also not there. So that's where the success lies for the child, and that's where we shift in. And thankfully that case study has also been covered in national media as well. Thank you.
You must be wondering that as a business consulting firm, why is Ideas Consulting Group talking and thinking about Yancha? We have always believed that people are the only asset who make the biggest difference to any business. And therefore, as a part of our combined service, we invite organizations who have that group of employees where a significant of them are parents bringing up children. More importantly, if both the husband and wife are working, we want to tie up with such organizations where we would work with the organization to offer Yancha as a value-added service to your employees, see the difference in their attitude, in their energy at work, and then we top it up with the training from our side for all these employees, and we can tell each one of you who are part of any organization that you will see the difference in business results and business outcomes.
And not only that, what I will add one point here is that what happens is, if in an organization, the person who is taking up a particular role, if that person has not evolved themselves also as an individual, that person will not be also productive at the particular job role that he's been assigned to. If that person is carrying certain cognitive biases which is detrimental towards your service, then that person will also not be effective at your workplace. So how can we marry that and see that if while going through this training, because when you are nurturing a young one, you have a clean slate, and at that point in time, if you can nurture them to have a rational thinking, make their decisions, you also evolve as a person, and you know that this is the right time that I have to let go certain things. And that's how, if you see, a great example is APJ Abdul Kalam. His father understood that at some point in time I have to let go, because I at now in that position I do not know how to nurture my son, and my son would be better taken care of by the teacher who has come forward to lead him to a better life. And see the difference that has happened to Mr. Kalam. If the parent would have actually held him back, he would never have been able to do that. And that's where the parenting evolves, and that's where an individual evolves, and that's how an organization can also evolve.
In summary, Yancha does what 3 Idiots did to a lot of parents, with the strong message that let the child pursue what the child loves and likes. Yancha goes a step beyond. If the child himself is not clear or herself not clear what he wants to do or what he likes, Yancha actually works with the parents to help the child find the path that he or she would like to traverse, so that ultimately in life, that singular, elusive area or condition of mind that we are all chasing comes closer to us, and that is happiness. If we really want your employees who are parents to be happy, talk to us and let Yancha bring that happiness to them, which will benefit you in your business results. Hopefully you have liked this edition of Conversations. Look out for more, because we believe it is people who matter